Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. There is a government partial shutdown looming, and I am okay with it, but Democrats are going to find themselves in a lot of trouble because Chuck U. Schumer is caving to the left. Guys, you should know this. Here's what Democrats are demanding. They want a ransom, basically $1 trillion to keep the government open for just 4 weeks. Also, Democrats want to spend $400 billion to keep Biden COVID money payments going forever. They want to repeal the reforms that strengthen Medicaid. They also want to provide free health care for able-bodied, working-aged adults who don't want to work and are lazy. They also want to give money to illegal aliens. They also want to send billions of dollars overseas because of their obsession with U.S. aid. So I say, let the government shut down, because the truth of the matter is, here's the dirty little secret. It's only the difference between essential and non-essential government employees. That's the dirty little secret. Democrats are making a big mistake if they decide to shut the government down. All right. Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Like I said before, please subscribe to my podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble, por favor. All right. Also, The Carl Jackson Show, wherever you go to check out your podcast and social media. I think I just double talk here. Social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook at Carl Jackson Show, at The Carl Jackson Show. Okay, guys, so here's the deal. I'm going to go through some of the things that the Democrat Party are asking for in order to avoid a government shutdown. This is nonsensical. And the left knows that it's nonsensical. Chuck U. Schumer knows that it's nonsensical. Hakeem Jeffries knows that it's nonsensical, but they're being held hostage by the far left and their party. Now, me personally, I don't mind government shutdowns. I know there's some conservatives, Republicans that'll totally disagree with me. We can never allow this to happen. I just totally disagree with that. I want to play for you a video clip. This is cut number 8. If you could grab that, Gabe. Rust Vote basically just slamming the Democrats. And I mean, they are going to regret if they decide to go ahead and shut this government down. They're going to regret it, because what Russ Vote can do, I believe he's head of the Office of Management and Budgeting. What he can do is essentially do Doge without all the drama. If Democrats decide to shut the government down, then you have Rust Vote that can come in and say, okay, so now we're working with X amount of money. This institution gets this institution gets this. I've got to make some tough decisions here because we're in a government shutdown, and those cuts are permanent. So if Democrats want to play this game, I say go ahead. Let's play this game. Because frankly, I don't mind. I don't mind. We're gonna save some money. Let's play cut number 8. This is Russ Vogt. Here's what he had to say. Cut number 8, please.
We're going to pay the price.
Can you, Mr. Vice President?
Sure. We want to keep this government open. It is not good for the American people to have the government shut down for any period of time. We will manage it appropriately, but it is something that can all be avoided. It can all be avoided by accepting a reasonable position, which is what the House has passed and what sits at the Senate desk, which is to continue to fund the government with a short-term continuing resolution. It has never been a viewpoint that $1.5 trillion is a reasonable amount of spending to be included on a short-term CR. This is hostage-taking. It is not something that we are going to accept, and we hope that the Democrats come back to the brink, fund this government, and allow us to move forward. Thank you.
Right.
Mr. Vice President, so just to be clear, is there room for negotiation?
All right, and so I'll brief you on some of the things that he's talking about, get into some of the details and specificities, because this will be a total disaster for the Democrat Party. And again, frankly, if the shoe was on the other foot and Republicans were battling this, I would say go ahead and do it. But it's different for the Democrats right now because basically we're still living under the Biden budget. And so all the Republicans are asking for is a clean CR, a continued resolution, the same level of spending, no additional spending. And as I just read off at the top of the program here, I just explained to you some of the things that Democrats want. And so we're going to go into detail. But first, before I do want to react to another video. This is cut number 25. Gabe will get it ready. This is Joy Reid. She talks about a fascist agenda. Now, I don't even know if Joy Reid is speaking specifically to the government shutdown, but I want you to understand before we play this video of Joy Reid, because I believe that all of this stuff is interconnected. Later on, I'm going to be talking about, I love what we saw. Love what we saw this week with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. So I definitely want to talk about that. I want to talk about the Israel-Hamas conflict. President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have worked out a peace deal. They've offered that. They've set it on the table for Hamas. Frankly, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm going to be the one conservative that says you have to understand how dangerous Islamism is. The Islamist is, or Islam is, excuse me. You have to understand how dangerous it is. Now, I am glad that there's a timeline here. I don't even believe that's necessary. I think this could have been done a long time ago. Nevertheless, we will go through some of the details of that as well. But before we do, I want to go to Gabe's homegirl, Joy Reid. If we could go to cut number 2025, Gabe, por favor.
Is that if you go back before the 20th century, there were no income taxes, there were no regulations on business. You could earn as much money as you want, leave 100% of it to your children with no taxes. Right. That's the world they want back. And to get it back, they need society to change. They need people to be less modern. They need people to want fewer things.
I want you to understand that video is Joy Reid trying to explain fascism. Please, guys, this is so embarrassing and it's frustrating. You can't tell me that she wasn't a DEI hire. Carl Hucking, you say that you're going to get your own people. You sell out your Uncle Tom for saying that. No, I'm speaking the truth. This is a lady that got a Ivy League education, and she's talking about fascists. She says that's a fascist agenda. They want to take us back to no income tax. Does she even know what that means? Does she even know what a fascist is? Of course she doesn't. They want to take us back to no income tax. You mean when you go out and work, when you sweat and bleed, and you go out there and you work hard for your family to pay your mortgage or rent, to pay your car note, to pay for your groceries, Joy Reid thinks that she and the government should get some of that. I believe, as a conservative, no, you should be able to keep all of that. But we're the fascists. No regulations. They want to go back to a time where there's no regulations. You mean no government intervention? No authoritarian government, Joy Reid? Also, you earn what you want. Isn't that the American dream? You should be able to earn as much as your capabilities and your tenacity will allow you in the United States. Family inherits everything. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? The Bible teaches us that we should leave an inheritance to our children's children. What's wrong with that? This lady was an Ivy League graduate, okay? Don't tell me that DEI is not an issue. Guys, I don't accept the premise of DEI. I think blacks should be insulted by DEI. I can't believe that there's people out there. I got to play a cut of Ta-Nehisi Coates, whatever his name is, talking about Charlie Kirk. I think it's absolutely insane. Actually, let's go ahead and play that too. May as well get into it. Let's play cut number 20 because all of this stuff is interconnected. And so I want to break this stuff down. We'll go into the budget. We are talking about the government shutdown, which there is no such thing as a government shutdown. So don't panic about it. And guys, I'm not one of these people. Listen, again, I don't mind government shutdowns. I realize there are people that you're not going to get your paycheck on time. Totally understand that. But what happens with the federal government when it shuts down? Just basic knowledge. It's essential and non-essential workers. Do we have enough time for the video? If we have enough time for the video, Gabe, let's go ahead and roll cut number 20.
I don't take any joy in saying this, but we sometimes soothe ourselves by pointing out that love, acceptance, warmth, that these are powerful forces. I believe they are. I also believe hate is a powerful force. I believe it's a powerful, powerful unifying force. And I think Charlie Kirk was a hate monger. You know, I really need to say this over and over again. I have a politic that rejects violence, that rejects political violence. I take no joy in the killing of anyone, no matter what they said. But if you ask me what the truth of his life was, and the truth of his public life, I would have to tell you it's hate. I'd have to tell you it is the usage of hate and the harnessing of hate towards political ends.
Now, this guy may actually believe this nonsense. I'm not sure, but what is so hateful about what Charlie Kirk believed? He believed in the rule of law. Is that hateful? He believed in the Constitution. He believed in natural law. He believed that a baby is life begins at conception. He believes in free speech, open dialogue between people that disagree. He believed in less taxation. I'm trying to figure out what's so hateful about Charlie Kirk. He believed in sovereign borders. So that illegals cannot compete with minorities and low income Americans, whether they be black, Latino, or white. He believed in a strong military. He believed in exceptionalism. He didn't denigrate black people. He actually believed that black people are just as capable of being excellent. What is so hateful about that? This stuff absolutely disgusts me, and it is all connected because the left keeps fighting against those of us that want to make you prosperous, that want to make this country safe, and that wants free speech to live on. That's what Charlie Kirk stood for. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here for MyPillow. A major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. Now it's your game. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. You get the standard MyPillow for just $17.98. If you want more, upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for just $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call 800-858-0263. All right. Plus, when you order totals of $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. No strings attached. That's right. Premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it all off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com right now or call 800-858-0263. And don't forget to use the promo code Carl, CARL, to grab your standard MyPillow for just $17.98. That is insane. Can't beat that with a bat. Okay, so now let me get back to some of the details of this looming shutdown. All right, which again, I'm not worried about. And here's the trick. This is what you have to understand. And I don't want to minimize because, listen, there are real people that are involved here. But the truth of the matter is many of these people should not have been hired in the first place. Remember during the COVID lockdowns when you had all of these real authoritarians that were showing their ugly faces, showing what they really stood for? Right here where I live in Central Florida, I can recall our mayor talking about essential workers versus non-essential workers. And I sat there thinking, who is this guy to tell us what an essential worker is versus a non-essential worker when we're the ones? He's a public figure. He's a politician. We pay his salary, but he has the audacity. He has the authority to tell us that we can't go out and work. It was the craziest nonsense that I've ever heard. But sadly, I live in a blue part of Florida, and unfortunately, and many people fell for it. I mean, just absolutely insane and crazy. But there's a difference. There's a difference. We're private citizens. The government doesn't have a right to tell us who's essential and who's non-essential as far as workers are concerned. Now, we, the people, have a right to tell the government, wait a minute, you guys are overspending our money unnecessarily so, and you need to cut things down. That's what we vote for. You need to cut your budget. You need to get on a budget. You need to do 12 appropriation bills a year instead of these continuing resolutions, these CRs, where we don't really cut the budget down to size. And so Republicans and Democrats alike keep spending money hand over fist. Now, here's the deal. Here's what's happening right now. Literally, all that the Republican Party is asking for, and this is what the Democrats voted for 13 times during the Biden administration, a continuing resolution. No, you're not going to get this. You're not going to get that. We're just going to keep the current spending levels. We're going to keep funding the government as is. And that's all Republicans are asking for the next 7 weeks until the big, beautiful bill kicks in. Because right now we're still living under the Biden economy, with the exception of more people having more confidence in the market because we have a capable president, and the tariffs are actually having a better effect than many of us thought. It's bringing in money to the Treasury. Now, that's not to say that they won't have some adverse effects, because a lot of companies have been taking it on the chin, and they're not going to do that forever. But nonetheless, those tariffs have been bringing a lot of money into the Treasury. Now, so there was a column at the Daily Signal. Senator Barrasso wrote it, and I thought it was very good. But basically, the House has already passed a continuing resolution. So Hakeem Jeffries' House has already passed it. So it's up to the Senate as to whether or not, before the stroke of midnight, whether or not the government is going to shut down. And again, I got to stop saying government shutdown. Basically, it's a government recess. And I got to be honest, I'm hoping they let the government shut down, because the video we played at the beginning of this segment with Russ Vought, or the past segment with Russ Vought, that is the man that is going to sit down and say, okay, since the government is shut down, we're going to have to deal with this amount of money. And so I'm going to get rid of this. 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 Democrats are going to live to regret this. So they want to, again, $1 trillion to keep the government open for just 4 weeks, as opposed to 7 weeks. $1 trillion. That is insane. All right. They want to spend $400 billion to keep Biden bonus COVID-19 payments going. Why would you want to keep COVID-19 payments going right now? That is what hurt us as far as inflation is concerned. Why would you want to keep that going? Because you want to keep people dependent. That's what the Democrat Party is about. They want to keep you dependent on other people's money, on that government crack, on that government heroin, or whatever, that government fix. They want to repeal reforms that strengthen Medicaid for those who need it the most. So basically, what the Republicans have started to do with Medicaid, and it's going to get even better with the big, beautiful bill, is they're trying to make reforms so that people aren't frauding the system or defrauding the system. And also, you have to work. If you're able-bodied, you have to work. What's wrong with that? It's absolutely insane. You can't have all these people getting freebies. And you don't want that. You don't want people not working. It takes away people's dignity. You want people to work. Work is a good thing. Too much work, maybe not. I struggle with that sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, but work is a good thing. Also, they want to send billions of dollars overseas. This is had to Daily Signal. This is Senator Barrasso, because of their obsession with climate change. And you know what climate? You know why the left and all of these world leaders at the UN, they're so obsessed with climate change, man-made climate change. The fact of the matter is, the reason why the world is obsessed with climate change is because they can't believe that America is dumb enough to give them our money for this. It's just a laundering scheme. It's what man-made climate change is, especially when it comes to these other countries and the UN. It's a man-made. It's a global laundering scheme. That's all it is. All right. So another thing that Democrats are arguing, they're saying that if the government shuts down, rural hospitals will be affected. Let me just read some of this. So Chuck Schumer stated on healthcare. He said basically rural hospitals will be shut down. Here's what Barrasso writes: the Democrats' proposal, the ransom note they provided, wants to repeal the critically important $50 billion rural hospital fund. So Democrats are pretending like if the government shuts down, Republicans are going to be responsible for not funding rural hospitals. If they shut things down, this is what Democrats are probably going to do. So every Democrat in this body, according to Barrasso, voted against a $50 billion rural hospital fund. Did you know that? Because Republicans get the blame for that, quite frankly. And I got to be honest with you, I'm a little bothered by Republicans because I feel like they should have fixed Obamacare a decade or plus ago. And now no one hardly talks about it, where this stuff shouldn't be an issue, but it still is. So here's what Barrasso said. Just a few minutes ago, the Senate Minority Leader came to the floor. He said one of his members went to some rural communities in his home state and said that healthcare providers there are really concerned. Well, then those healthcare providers haven't been informed by the Democrat senators from the state about what is in the bill that passed this summer, according to Barrasso. He goes on. And the incredible resources that are being made to make sure that rural hospitals can be sustained, can stay afloat, can stay open, can provide health care. So the Democrats are so against rural communities, he writes, of this country that they actually introduced a bill in July. Listen to this, because this is what the Democrats do. They're really good with wording. The bill that they introduced in July was called the Protecting Healthcare and Lowering Costs Act. So you hear that as a Democrat or somebody that's concerned about your health care, if you live in a rural area being cut out and you're like, oh my God, I'm with the Democrats on this, protecting health care and lowering the cost. Yeah, that makes sense. But it's preposterous on its face because that act alone repeals the $50 billion for the rural hospital communities. This is what Democrats do. They talk a good game, but the truth of the matter is this is just basic knowledge. If you understand this, if you get this, I promise you, you will be a magnificent voter. You will no longer be a low information voter if you understand the Democrats at this level. And that is to say that Democrats, as I often say, are successful when you are unsuccessful. If Democrats can get you totally dependent on the government, they've got you, they've won. When you're successful and Republicans can create an atmosphere where you do better in life, as long as you're out there working hard, striving, looking for opportunity, working smart, so on, etc. That's when Republicans are successful. They try to make an atmosphere where you're better off just going out and doing your thing, working for that American dream. That's what Joy Reid is scared of. It's crazy. So hospitals all across my state, Barrasso writes, realize it's important for their sustainability to provide healthcare in rural communities where the next hospital may be 100 miles away. That's something foreign to the other side of the aisle, Democrats, he says, who ignore so often the rural communities and their own states. And isn't that true? Look at New York, look at LA, look at these blue states with these major blue cities. They often ignore the rural communities and they totally buy into the big cities. They totally fall in love with the big cities. And that's where their concern is because that's where they get the most votes. That's where they end up winning. He says Schumer should do the right thing. I don't necessarily agree with this premise, but saying that Schumer shouldn't vote to shut down the government. But Schumer is scared because Nancy Pelosi back in March said when he voted to keep the government open, Nancy Pelosi said, I myself don't give away anything for nothing, quote unquote. And then AOC questioned why Senator Schumer would, quote, hand away our leverage for free, close quote. Plus, you got 18 of the Democrats that are running for the Senate. They have open seats up in 2026 where they're not, at least right now, they won't say whether or not they'll vote for Schumer as leader. So that's what this is about. Schumer is scared. All right. But the bottom line is all Republicans want to do is continue the current level of spending until we can get to the big, beautiful bill and until that kicks in. So Democrats are going to shoot themselves in the foot. And frankly, I am hoping and praying a shutdown occurs because I want to see some real cuts in the federal government. So I say shut her down and let Russ vote, make our budget great again.